out and bike and hike and play. And unfortunately, explained to you, I came across this problem and said, whoops, you know, make a plan, change the plan. Got a new plan here, which is the work to try to make the impossible possible. And that's what Citizens Climate Lobby is basically about. And so are some of the other organizations. I want to talk about a two-part process here. CCL is about getting educated, but as he pointed out there, you do not have to become world-class experts on this subject to have an amazing political impact. That's the first thing. But you need a minimum level of education about what's going on. We'll talk about that. And then getting political. And that second step for most people is a lot harder. They're used to sitting on the computer, maybe signing an email, you know, on a protest, but this is get off the computer and out the door and actually go talk to some people. And these are opinion leaders and politicians and media. And that takes, it's a group sport, but we'll get into that. If we have time, I'll talk about what we really focus on, which is a revenue-neutral carbon tax. And I'm going to talk about that some, but probably not for a whole 15 minutes. So if I can make this work, whoops, too fast. I want to focus on two things he said that I want to make sure people didn't overlook. This is a 1,000-year diagram right here of what is going on with temperature. If we do business as usual, it's basically a straight line up, and it is unstoppable. The temps keep rising, as he said, to about 12 degrees Celsius by 2300 or more. Human emissions, this is the real point here, are irrelevant. There is a point at which, and this is what the game over scenario is about, at which if we go immediately to zero human greenhouse gas emissions, no carbon dioxide, no methane, no hydrofluorocarbons, immediately to zero, it won't matter anymore because you've got these big carbon sinks, okay? The Amazon forest, it is burned and gone. It's a big sink today, it becomes a source of CO2. The permafrost is one that he mentioned. It's got, the atmosphere has about 750 gigaton of carbon, that's billion tons of carbon. Permafrost has about 1,700 gigaton of carbon. If that stuff is released, you get the idea. Deep ocean clathrates, frozen clathrates hold about 10,000 gigaton of carbon. When that's how 55 million years ago, we reached something called the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. Hottest temperature we've ever known on Earth. And it was, 20 degrees Celsius higher than today. That's what happens when the clathrates melt. So, the game over scenario is a real problem. It's when humans lose control. The other thing that he wasn't as clear on as I wished, our best case scenario is temperatures stabilize at 2 degrees Celsius, which is what most scientists have said for a couple of decades, is the threshold for danger, the threshold at which maybe the game over scenario kicks in, that we lose control. But the important thing is that whenever we come to our senses and we start doing something, whatever temperature level we're at, it's the minimum. For the next 1,000, NOAA has done studies on this. Temperatures are going to stay where they are today for at least 1,000 years, based on what we've already put in there. If we go to 2 degrees, they're going to stay there, or 3 degrees, or 4 degrees. It can only go up. It's not reversible. So I hope I'm making that point clear. This is the best visual I can give you of the two futures, the best case and the worst case. One is it doesn't get any worse. We flatline for 1,000 years. The other one is we do business as usual and we're in real trouble. Now I'm going to go quicker. He said, your job for the rest of your life and my job is to make the impossible possible. How do you do that? The director of our group, the woman I've joined at the hip with down in Madison, is now going to go, she's quitting her job as a teacher and going to work full-time on this. Her husband's going to support the family. It's a huge financial hit. She's going to work for peanuts. Over a 3-year period, I've watched her go from a full-time teacher to a half-time teacher to saying, that's it, I'm doing this full-time. But she said, I said, Madeline, what do you want me to do? She said, you're going to show the Dave Roberts video? And I said, yeah. And she said, oh, geez, give him some hope, will you? And I said, that's a good message, because one of the things that we talk about is this is fixable. And you need to understand that. So Madeline says, give him hope, there is hope. I mentioned a 2-step process. This comes from Joe Rahm. He's a blogger. just like Robert's, only he's got a PhD in physics from MIT. He's got a undergraduate minor in economics. He worked in the Clinton administration as bureaucrat, the Energy Administration. He works for John Podesta, who is Clinton's chief of staff. He's a senior fellow at Center for American Progress. And he does a blog every day. You want to sign up for Rob's blog. If you haven't heard it, how many of you have heard it, Joe? Okay. Write it down. You've got it on your sheet. On the sheet I handed out, so you don't have to take a whole lot of notes. If you look on the back of this letter, you're going to be able to follow a lot of what I'm going to say. And sir, I see you don't have one, so get this out, and anybody else, just so you don't have to write as much. Whoops. What I do. He's the one who gave me this, and it's ironic because it's CCL, Citizens Climate Lobby's philosophy. First you get educated, then you get educated. To get educated, there's only 5 things you really need to explain to people about global warming to get them to act politically. This is it, and it's all in that sheet I gave you. You tell them the first 3 things are all scientific. Scientists around the world agree global warming is real. You need to be able to explain a little of that. This time, we humans did it. It's not the orbit of the planet or the axial tilt. 3, it's already dangerous and it could become catastrophic. Number 4, and this is the most interesting point, there is an overwhelming scientific consensus on this. There is no scientific debate. And this point's made by Anthony Lazarowicz. He's a pollster at Yale. I'm sorry, yeah, he's at Yale. Got a PhD in something, but it's not climate science. And he's a professional pollster now. He has studied climate science polling better than anybody else in the world. He works with George Mason University and Yale University. If you want to read polls and find out what's going on in climate, Lazarowicz is the guy. I was at a conference last summer when he talked about some of this, and he said, this is the gateway belief. Once you show people, and there are a lot of ways to do that there is an overwhelming consensus and there's no scientific debate, they get off the fence. Once you show them scientists are in agreement on those first 3 points, you've got their attention in a way that you didn't have it before. And finally, the hope side. 5th thing you have to tell people is we've got solutions. And that's what we're trying to tell the political elites in Congress. We have solutions, we know how to fix this if we act now. Second part of getting educated, this is something I've learned, this is my slide. I view climate change as a 6-level chess game, and I can only find one with 5 levels. But there's a separate chess game going on at each level here. You've got the science, okay, at the bottom of this thing, on global warming. And that's what you saw in the film, or in the video that I showed. He just concentrated on the science. Then you've got the impacts. These are the environmental side. The environmental impacts, what's going to happen out there. It's from A to Z. It's from acid oceans to zoological extinction. Okay, so you've got a list of things that people are studying at that level. And then at a chess game at each level, we're at a different stage. We've basically got checkmate. We're winning on the science. I mean, you can go to Congress in Washington and talk to Republican politicians and staff privately. They know global warming is real. There's no serious argument about that. They're afraid to say it for various reasons, but they understand, with a few exceptions, okay? And the Republicans who get it are disturbed that the fringe of their party has made it the center of their party. And they're looking for ways to recapture this issue, so we're trying to help them. The impacts are debatable, but they're all bad news, okay? This is the bad news side of the story. The science, each new study that comes out is worse than the last one. It's happening faster, the impacts are worse. It's all bad news. The good news of the next 2 are we've got the technology to fix this. There's feasible technology out there, there are technology solutions, and they're affordable. You can link the technology and economics together. My real point is very few people are experts on all 6 of these. How many people do you know that walk around that are great? We were talking about fixing things. My wife will marry a handyman in her next life. I cannot fix a thing. Larry's pretty good at it. He's